my friends, the topic of today is why do people obsess about lifting heavy things? Well, A, it's badass, right? 2, it's very objective, easy to measure. A fellow coach of ours up in Canada that coaches a football team asked us if we could put together a little video on why body weight movement is important and how to utilize body weight movement to get better at sport, especially power sports. We worked a little bit with CrossFit Football and John Welborn, and I've been able to attend a seminar and see how they work. And they have a phenomenal program going on, and they address heavy lifting, they address volume, they address technique added to volume, and how that can be assisted with other things. They do a lot of drills. Most of the drills that they do that are skill transfer exercises are all body weight. The heavy lifting is just a foundation of strength and a way of priming the system at a physiological level to be able to put out really great forces in very short periods of time and not get wrecked. And not just that, they do the assistance work around it to be able to add more volume, to be able to do that over and over and over and over again. If you think about football, I know really nothing about it, but I do know one thing, is that you don't play a full game of football every day at every practice. You play it on the weekends. There's a certain period of time. During practice, what you do is you do several repetitions, several drills of many things. So if we take this concept of skill being your capacity to move across a broad domain of movements, we have a platform, a base, and that skill, I don't know if you guys can read that, that skill has several master techniques that we focus on. Those master techniques could be throwing, running, catching, jumping, landing. And then in between them, there are connectors. So if these guys are techniques, these connectors right here are drills. Now, this is your foundation. If your foundation is big enough, you will be able to create some sort of peak, and that peak is performance.
I'm sorry, you were saying.
This concept of performance depends on your standards. What are you trying to accomplish? So the problem that we encounter is that skill, which is the underlying principle of being able to move across broad domains, and we train it by practicing these different master techniques, and we connect those techniques with drills. It's not really measurable. I can't quantify it. It's not objective. It's only really by feel. Coach, today I felt better. Today I didn't feel that good. Why? What's going on? It's very subjective. But when you're in the weight room, if I'm front squatting and I'm front squatting heavy for 3, what we see is that if on one day I can front squat 100 kilos and next day I squat 101 kilos, I just got better. And for athletes, 1 + 1 = 2 is very easy. That 2 result is a very simple thing to look at and say, oh, it's better than 1. I got better. I see improvement. Skill is not that quantifiable. So that's the first thing that we have to understand, is that when we teach skill, you have to understand that there's a direct transfer to some sort of output that's measurable. Now, we need to work backwards. If we have an athlete that has a 100 kilo front squat and they're trying to get stronger, they will be measuring it by adding 1 kilo. What we encounter is athletes in the strength room that cannot squat because they're lacking something. They don't know what it is. Most of the times, what they're lacking is mobility, capacity to get into a better position. So we need to start focusing on mechanics and technique. So that technique is simple to address. It's maybe knees out, stay back, back flat, elbows up, whatever that is. But over long periods of time and high volume, if that technique is not perfected, our athletes start deteriorating. They start getting injured. And one of the things that we forget is that volume is our best friend. I don't get great at something over 10 repetitions, 20 repetitions. I need to do 1,000, 10,000s of repetitions. There are theories on music that say that you have to be able to play a song 16 times in a row, 16 times, and if you can do that without missing, then you know how to play that song. There are theories on you need to be able to do 10,000 hours of something to become a master of it, 10 years to become a master. So in the strength and conditioning room, we're working with our body, and we measure really easily when we're under heavy loads with these kilos, these numbers. But then we need to take that and create assistance work. And that's where a lot of the body weight stuff comes in. I need to be working body weight. And there are a couple things that we need to focus on. Number one, I need to be able to use my main power generator, hips. Number two, I need to have a strong spine that's midline. Number three, I need to have strong shoulders. So those are my three best friends: hips, midline, and shoulders. At shoulder level, I need to be able to push, I need to be able to pull. At hip level, I need to be able to pull, I need to be able to push. Same thing. Most of the stuff that we do is pushing. And the midline happens to be our transmission. Is how well can we direct the force from the hips to the shoulders, receive from the shoulders direct to the hips, and stop. Jumping and landing, throwing and catching. These are things that we need to start connecting. And if we understand that, then we will find some sort of emotional satisfaction in doing more body weight training. So understanding that now allows us to go into more detail. And now it comes into the detail of what does this kind of movement mean and how does it apply to my performance. When we talk about movement, we're talking about functional movement. Functional movement means two things in my brain. It means one, it needs to be safe. If I go into something and I come out hurt, that was not functional. There could be trauma, there could be an accident, I understand. But overuse is not a good excuse for injury. And that comes always from poor mechanics, poor technique. So that's number one, it has to be safe. Number two, it has to be efficient, meaning I need to be able to get more bang out of my buck. Think about it this way. If I have a nail, and I have a piece of wood, and I have a hammer right here, and I hammer straight down, that application of force is direct and it's 100% efficient. If I'm hammering and I'm coming from the side, and I'm trying to get that nail to go straight into the wood, I am losing, due to a certain degree of deviation in my hit, I'm losing certain efficiency in that application of force. And what we see in the actual nail is that the nail ends up bending. This bending of the nail is breaking the integrity of that structure and therefore injuring the nail and not allowing me to perform at high levels. So this concept applies to how we squat with no weight, how we do push-ups with no weight, how we do pull-ups with no weight, and then how we can take that body weight stuff and translate it into the heavy lifting. And not just translate it into heavy lifting, but translate it into the drills on the field. And then take those drills on the field, turn them into master techniques. Take those master techniques, develop a bigger skill base, and then take that big skill base and apply it to my role on the field as a player, whatever it is I am doing. So body weight training is focused on all these things. We like the measurable, quantifiable stuff, but we need to understand that the goal is to develop the hips and shoulders with a good midline, with good application of force, to make it safe and to make it transferable. This is skill transfer. If I'm not seeing direct skill transfer from my push-up to pushing someone to tackling someone, I don't understand what I'm doing as an athlete. If I don't understand heavy squatting to be able to accelerate faster, I don't understand what I'm doing as an athlete. These are things that we need to develop. And not just that, as soon as you take it into real life, where now we're not just double loaded, we're actually unilaterally loaded, we start seeing a rotational component, our athletes completely break. So there's not just this, but there's also a rotational component which completely messes the system up, and that's where we lose our people. So as an athlete, especially a power athlete, if you can start focusing on quality of movement in order to apply better force, you will be able to get way more bang out of your buck, meaning you will win more games, you will play more games, you will last longer, and you'll have no injury, and that means some sort of success. And success is always progress. So you need to start seeing the big picture. If you only see this, you are missing out, and you will not know what it's really like to be an athlete.